gonna increase the volume. Very nice. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, then please subscribe, all the usual fun stuff. If you're not new, then hello again. Don't know why you're still here, but thank you. Thank you for putting up with me. I know I'm not very interesting, but I mean, I guess I'm grateful. Today we are talking about how much does it cost to run an F1 team. And this was a pretty difficult video to find out all the stuff, and I still don't know all the stuff, but I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable after looking all this stuff up. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. And the first point I wanted to make is Mercedes and Red Bull and maybe Force India, when they were called Force India, they were all technically based in the UK because it's cheaper to be based there than Austria, which is where Red Bull's from, Germany, where Mercedes is from, and Force India, well, you can guess where they're from. And because of that, they have to report their spending every single year to the government, I'm assuming. And somehow that ends up on the internet, and now I can sort of give you a vague idea of how much it costs to run an F1 team. And it's actually mad. Per year, Mercedes, who are obviously the biggest team on the grid, so they're going to be spending the most. In 2017, they spent £320 million. And a team like Williams spent about £140 million in the same year, in 2017. And in 2017, if you remember, Williams were actually okay. They didn't come last in every race, which means that you don't necessarily have to spend this much money to get a good F1 car. But Mercedes have the money, and I guess they won the championship overall, so guess my point is now disproven. Compare that to over 10 years ago now, or 9 years previously to 2017. We've got Brawn. They won the championship. They were a brand new team. They only lasted 1 year. And now Ross Brawn basically is in charge of F1. So he's done pretty well for himself. They spent £166.5 million in 2008. And they won the championship. So it's proven that the cost of running an F1 team is slowly going up like that. And I've got a fun little graph to show you. There you go. This is the spending costs of Williams from 1998 to 2017. And the reason this is important is because obviously it's getting more expensive, and I don't think there's much more money coming into the sport. So where is all this money coming from? That's what I'm here to explain. So first of all, research and development, that is going to cost a team an average of £61 million per year. A team like Mercedes, a bit more. A team like Williams, probably also a bit more, because they really need to improve their car. But sort of midfield teams, they're not going to be spending as much as that. But it's only an average, so that makes sense. And all the money that comes into the sport is paid by two main things. And we've also got a third, if you want to count it. So the first one is sponsorship. That was probably known by most people. And prize money, again, that's fairly obvious. You get a bit of money for winning a race. You get even more money for winning the championship. And you probably get less money for losing a race, or finishing last in the championship. So on and so forth. They're also paid by people who own shares in the team. So they pay their little bits of money into the team. For instance, Lawrence Stroll and Racing Point, Frank Williams and Williams. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But they own large proportions, if not all, of the team. And because of that, they're putting their money into the team, and the team's giving them money back, and they're making a profit, so it's still worth them being in the sport. And the team has enough money to stay in the sport, so it's a nice little circle of life for you. And another very fun and not very interesting fact. Most teams, every single year, they break even. And if you don't know what that means, break even is where you get given some money, but then you spend that money and you've literally broken even. You have no more money left, but you're not in debt either, so you've got zero money, or roughly that. And that is a bit of a strange thing for a lot of people to understand, because you'd think that you'd want to be in F1 to get lots of money, to be rich and famous. Yeah. But the teams do get a bit of a gain, and the sponsors also make a gain. Because why would the sponsors want to get money why would the sponsors want to put in money if they're not getting anything out? But technically, they are. And they are getting something called AVE, which is Advertising Value Equivalent. And that is like how much money their brand has made by being on the front of that car or the side of that car. So Mercedes, for instance, they made $3.2 billion in AVE in 2017. And I'm sure people like Red Bull made probably more money because Red Bull's cheaper. So more people are going to want to buy it. And that is huge. And that is why people want to put their money into F1. Because that is just crazy money. But then you've got people like Braun. I'm pretty sure Braun was just Ross Brawn's surname. I don't think there was anything in there. But I don't know. He got his profit. He could have done a lot better if he had a brand as well. And that's why you've had teams in the past like Virgin F1 team, Lotus F1 team. I'm pretty sure there's been... Who else? You've had Martini on F1 cars for donkey's years. So yeah, there's... Advertising is lucrative because of this thing called AVE. I'm sure there's someone who can explain it a lot better than me. In fact, there is. There is definitely someone who can explain it better than me. But that's it sort of summed up into a very simple, understandable explanation of the thing. The team owners of said team can take an annual cut if they want. So they make their profit from the team, and they can also take a bit more if they want, which would be cruel, but they could. Say, maybe whoever owns Mercedes, they take their however much they're making every year from owning Mercedes, and then they say, actually, I fancy another billion, please. And then Mercedes just have to go, oh, okay, well, you've given us a lot of money, so I guess we have to give you a lot of money now. Anyway, that's basically where the money goes and where the money comes from. But what are the main costs of running an F1 team? That's probably another interesting topic. And the first one, first and foremost, we've got employment. So we've got staff, we've got drivers, mechanics, pit crew, everyone involved in the team in some way, shape or form. That is going to be taking £42 million per year on average. But we've got, obviously, the richer teams, they're going to be spending a bit more. I'm pretty sure Lewis Hamilton's paid well over $100 million a year. And you've got teams which will be spending a bit less, say McLaren, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz are both being paid about $500,000 per year. But yeah, on average, £42 million per year spent on salaries. Production, so that's the making of the car and maybe making engines for your customers. And that would be a total of £39 million. And what I mean by customers, by the way, and making engines is maybe a team like Mercedes. I know I keep coming back to them, but they're the best example. Maybe your engine customers. So for Mercedes, that would be Racing Point and Williams. Maybe they need an engine. You can't drive a car without an engine. So you got to make one for them, and that involves more money, I guess. You've got to spend more money, and if your engines pack up, you've got to give them a bit of money because they've probably lost money that race, and it's your fault. So yeah, £39 million a year on average on customer engine supply and making your own car. Operations, so that's your logistics, your freight, your IT, your factory making, and your everything like logistical in F1, which I might make a video on soon if I can be bothered, which sometimes I can't, but if I can, then I'll make a video on that. Might be fun. And that is going to be £36 million per year, which is about the same as is spent on research and development, £41 million per year. So R&D, that's your wind tunnel testing and your track testing, and you've got your like pre-season testing and got the Pirelli tyre tests, all that sort of stuff, all that jazz. £41 million a year, which means the total of the F1 team budget comes to, apparently, according to Forbes.com, very reliable money site, if you don't know what they are, that's £158 million per year. But we've also got some extra costs. We've got the a cost of a single F1 car. So if your drivers crash it, you're going to have to get a new one. How much is one of them? £6 million, £6 million. So I'm guessing Haas are making a pretty big loss per year on their cars, because Mr. Grosjean and Mr. Magnussen keep crashing into each other. So you can imagine, the Brazilian Grand Prix, when both Ferraris crashed into each other. You know how much that's going to cost them? £12 million. You know how much they're going to get out of the race? Nothing, because no one's going to give them any money, because they didn't even finish the race. So, crashing is very expensive in F1. Also, there's a funny little breakdown thing which I'll put on the screen and read out to you as well. We have the team sponsorship per area of the car. So, £2 million a year if you just want to be on the top of the nose. £3.4 million a year if you want to be on a wing mirror. £6.8 million a year if you want to be on the side of the tub. So that's where Richard Meal's written a lot in F1. So they're paying a lot of teams roughly £6.8 million per year to write their name. I'm not sure they're making many watches out of that. If you want your name on the airbox, that's the little bit above the driver's head where the air goes in, £17 million. If you want it on the side pods, that's like the main bit of the car, also £17 million. Rear wing, £17 million. Rear wing end plates, so that's like the bits on the side, £3.4 million. So, there's no way to really describe that, but that's a lot of money, and that's a funny little idea of how much it would cost to sponsor an F1 car. The cheapest way is just sponsor the top of the nose, £2 million. Easy peasy. I've run out of things to say. I've probably missed an absolute ton. Also, apologise about the funny sounding letter S. It's not my fault really. The braces haven't really got to grips with speaking again. So I'm sorry about that. Also, hope you like the new sound quality. I certainly do, and I hope you like the light as well with that light there. I think that's basically all I've got to say. I am completely stumped, as are you, probably, after watching this absolute monstrosity. But I hope it was worthwhile. I hope that you liked watching it. If you did, obviously give the video a thumbs up, a like, and comment what I should do next time. This video is sort of responsible, or like the fault of someone called Sub-Zero Motorsports. I'll put his comment on the screen. He commented, do something on F1 sponsors. This is sort of F1 sponsors. I might make another video on specifically F1 sponsors and how much they bring into the sport. Otherwise, that's it for today. That'll do. And I will hopefully see you in the next one. Otherwise, I'll be sad. Okay, so goodbye.
Yeah, hey. I take this shit from the highest league. You can never be as high as me. No, I ain't never been to college, but I got that flow that come right out of Ivy League. She wasn't religious, but she came to kick it, and now she be